What's up, everybody? Coach Sean Rip Grandpa, home of the 3-step hormone reset solution for high-performing men and women. Inside this video, I'm going to talk about cheat meal tricks that I personally use to minimize fat storage. I'm going to talk about why I think cheat meals should be part of a lifestyle of leanness plan, and I use it with all my clients, and some warnings so you don't screw it up. Go 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. And then some strategies that you can use to minimize fat storage based on science, and there's some debate on this, and we'll give more context on this in a second. But stay tuned, because it's super important to time your booze the right way. I'm going to talk about that here in a couple minutes. So, why cheat? Well, number one, adherence and sustainability is the name of the game. I've been using cheat meals since I was 28 years old, and I finished the Body for Life contest. Ever since then, I've always dangled the carrot and had a cheat meal every single weekend, because psychologically, it gives me that carrot to look forward to, and so I can easier sustain the plan during the week. And then it's more of a reward when I do get to it. It tastes 10 times better because I've sacrificed to earn the right to have that cheat meal. So for me, it's all about adherence and sustainability is the name of the game. Because what is the best fat loss plan to follow? One, you can sustain and adhere to. Now, the second reason is hormonal and metabolic. So if you're in a calorie deficit during the week, and what I do with my guys is during the week, they do carb down days on their weight training days. They do carb deplete days on their off days, which I assign metabolic bursting hit and threshold hit on those days. And on the carb down days, it's a body recomp day. So we're in a slight deficit to build muscle and burn fat. On the deplete days, we're in an aggressive deficit. Those are complete fat burning days. And of course, this down-regulates thyroid and leptin hormones because we're in a deficit. And these are the two hormones that help regulate your body weight and help control the speed of your metabolism. And as these hormones slowly decline because you're in a deficit and you're not having as much glucose as you normally would, this down-regulates your metabolic rate through adaptation and creates something called metabolic slowdown, slowing down your BMR. So by having a high-carb glucose-based cheat meal, you give your body the nutrients it needs to reset these thyroid and leptin hormones and speed back up your metabolic rate. Now, most people don't understand that glucose is a building block of thyroid hormones. Thyroid hormones are a glycoprotein. So it's important that when you do have this cheat meal that it's high in glucose, because that is what's going to help your body convert T4 to T3 in the liver and turn into the active thyroid hormones that your body can use to help reset that hormone, and then also increase your metabolic rate because you're getting the surge of calories coming in. So the TEF or the DIT, diet-induced thermogenesis, or the thermic effect of that food is greatly enhanced because of the influx of calories. So now not only are you resetting these hormones, you're getting a 1-2 punch with this calorie influx, boosting the thermic effect at the same time, and now you're increasing your BMR back up. So it's a psychological, hormonal, and metabolic effect, but it needs to be created the right way during the week. I mean, if you haven't been in a deficit during the week, then you haven't earned the right to have a cheat meal. So if you do have the cheat meal, you obviously need to earn the right by doing QUEST, C-W-E-S-T, right? Being in a calorie deficit, adequate water, exercise, sleep, and protein. And this is what I tell all my guys. When you get punched in the face and life happens, you always fall back on going on a QUEST, just spelled differently than quest. Calorie deficit, water, exercise, sleep, and protein, right? So you have to earn the right. And then it is a reward, not an escape, right? So psychologically, make it a reward every week in your life to look forward to. And then just be careful of booze. So I talked about this earlier about booze timing is super important. Because if you booze it up before you cheat, your chances of fat storage increase greatly because your body has to process the acetate first. So the best thing that you can do is cheat earlier in the day, have a high carb cheat meal with a dessert that's glucose based. Try to wait about 2 hours afterwards, because if you don't and you booze it up before, during, or right afterwards, research shows that you minimize your body's ability to replenish glycogen from that glucose into muscle and liver tissue that's been depleted all week because you were in a deficit. And it also has been shown to minimize that hormonal reset that we're trying to give your body with that higher carb cheat meal. So timing of that booze is super important. And of course, the obvious stuff. Pina coladas and all these high sugary drinks should be off limits. We want to use calorie-free mixers, stick with white liquors, tequila, gin, vodka's my favorite. We want to stick with lighter red wines if we're on a cut. I mean, I love a bold red wine, but when I'm on a cut, I always go Pinot Noir, and of course the white wines are going to have more sugar. So obvious stuff on the booze stuff, but the timing is the most important aspect here. And then here's 5 simple strategies that can potentially minimize fat storage. So if you know you're going on a weekend bender, or you're going golfing with your buddies or something, like sometimes you might want to empty the tank ahead of time and just deplete carbs for 2 or 3 days. Create a bunch of room in your muscle and liver tissue for that glycogen to slide into when you do have that influx of calories. So you're emptying the tank ahead of time, and fasting and carb depleting are the 2 best ways to do that. Trick number 2 is the GLUT4 or the GLUT4 trick. I'm not sure which way you say it. It's a glucose transporter that you bring to the surface of muscle cells. A couple different ways to do this: high intensity exercise of any kind, especially resistance training. And of course, I give my guys leg workouts on the day that they do a carb up day where they have their cheat meal, or less low intensity steady state cardio, because that's going to help make more room in the tank as well. But the high intensity legs will activate GLUT4. And when GLUT4, this glucose transporter, comes to the surface of muscle cells, it can help you utilize the carbohydrates that you're eating and potentially minimize fat storage. And then of course, these GLUT4 activator study that came out a couple years ago, and it was pretty interesting. It minimized fat storage. Like, you could go into a bathroom stall if you're at a restaurant getting ready to cheat, right? And you could literally do 60 to 90 seconds of body weight squats, and you can literally bring GLUT4 to the surface. It sounds silly, but it's something that you could consider. The water trick, research shows over and over again that people who drink more water just lose more weight, they live longer. And then people who drank 16 ounces of water before their meals side by side with a group of dieters who didn't, just lost like 30% more weight just by having that 16-ounce glass of water before their meals, because it just fills you up and you're more likely to eat less. And then the PVC trick, pipe trick. I've done a video on this that went pretty viral, and it got a lot of, it's pretty controversial, right? Because it's about food order. And so what happens is when you eat your meds first, I'm talking about meat, eggs, dairy, and seafood, or protein powder with a shake, right? So if you eat your protein and your veggies first before you eat your carbs, so PVC, protein, veggies, then eat your carbs, in the 30, 60, 90-minute window after the workout, research shows that blood glucose is much more stabilized and potentially can help you minimize fat storage from that particular meal by eating protein and veggies before you eat your high carbs. And then always eat your meds first, right? Always remember that: meds, meat, eggs, dairy, seafood. If you don't get meat, eggs, dairy, and seafood in a meal, always fall back on protein powder. And then the last trick is the blood sugar tricks. A lot of people are pretty familiar with the lemon water and the apple cider vinegar as a blood sugar stabilizer before meals. Obviously good for your gut health as well. But a lot of people don't talk about the grapefruit trick. So there's a couple studies now showing that people who eat a half a grapefruit before their meals not only have more stabilized blood sugar, but lose more weight. And grapefruit's one of the only fruits that can flatline and minimize your insulin spike. And of course, there's debate on this as well, but theoretically, in the presence of insulin, lipolysis or fat burning is blocked. And so having like a small glass of fresh squeezed grapefruits or a half a grapefruit before your cheat meal, you can potentially minimize fat storage. Tim Ferriss talked about this in his book, The 4-Hour Body. He had a big section in one of the chapters on it. And so it's something to consider if you like grapefruit. And just grapefruit's a great fruit to have anyway, low glycemically. So I hope you got something out of this video. Now I have 2 resources below for you. And one is a free resource. It's my hormone reset cheat sheet. So it's my 3-step hormone reset. 1-pager. It's going to give you all 3 steps to help you dial in your hormones. I talk about meal timing to dial in ghrelin and to dial in growth hormone. I talk about combinations to stabilize blood sugar and cortisol. And then I talk about the high carb cheating and the strategically timed carbs to reset leptin and thyroid hormones like we discussed in this video. So you can download that below. And then there's also a link to schedule a call. So if you're someone who is over 40, 50, or 60, you're a high performer, you make over 6 figures, I've designed a lifestyle plan for guys like us to get lean for life. It's not a course, it's not a pill, it's not a book. It's all about creating a lifestyle of leanness that you could use till you're 100 years old if you want. It's how I've kept my abs personally for the last decade plus. And I've fleshed out an entire very high touch, high level VIP program where we do elite one-on-one coaching. So if that's something you're interested in, Check out the video below, fill out an application, schedule a call. And then of course, time is our most precious commodity. So if you did get something out of this by taking time out of your day to watch it, do me a favor, like it and share it, and keep going strong, and God bless.